So I did not video us removing the engine, but the engine's back out. Terry's gonna drive his truck up here. We're gonna load it in the back of his truck, take it around to the back porch and put it up on the engine stand. So I'll pick up once we've got it around back.
Like it could have been, broke.
All right, so we got the engine back here onto the back porch. It wasn't easy, but got it back here, got it on the engine stand. We're gonna start tearing this thing apart and going through the rebuild process. We're just checking everything out because it did roll a little bit when it was in the truck. Want to make sure nothing got broke. So everything looks good from here though. I don't see anything. So I'll pick back up when I start tearing it apart. We're gonna do head gaskets, valve cover gaskets, front and rear main seal, oil pan gasket, oil pump, water pump, timing belt. So yeah, this should be a pretty involved little series. I'm not gonna tear the motor all the way down to where the pistons and the crank are out, and I'm not gonna pull the heads apart to where the valves and the springs and the retainers and all that are out. I'm just gonna do the regasket and reseal it, and then replace timing and water pump and oil pump. And obviously we'll put new spark plugs in it, things like that. But I'll pick back up when we're tearing it apart. All right, everybody, so I already started tearing the motor apart. So I'm gonna go ahead and continue stripping it down, get this thing ripped down to nothing, and get it cleaned up and start replacing gaskets and stuff. So I'm gonna start ripping this thing apart. All right, everybody, so today we're going to start on the final disassembly of this engine. I believe Terry and I have more than likely decided we're going to tear this thing down to replace valve guide seals and all that. Depending on how the pistons look when we pull this thing over, because it's looking like this engine's got some pretty high miles. We may look at like the ridge at the top of the piston wall. If it's got a ridge on there, we may re-ring it and see how the pistons look. I mean, this thing may be burning oil, I don't know. We don't know the history on this motor, so really I don't want to do a whole bunch of machine work to this thing, but if I have to, I have to. So we'll see what happens. All right, guys, so Terry's been out here cleaning like a madman. Say what's up to everybody, Terry.
What's going on, man?
All right, so we have the engine tore apart. So this is one of the set of camshafts for the head. There's the other camshaft for the other head. 2 cylinder heads are up here. So here's the 2 cylinder heads. Got everything basically lined up against this wall, but we've pressure washed the engine, torn it apart, got all the timing components off of it, got the water pump off of it. Gonna get a new oil pump and replace the oil pump on it. And then we're going to replace front and rear main seals. And the oil pump should actually come with a new front seal. So we should be good on that. And then we're going to pull the lower oil pan just to clean everything out inside of there and then regasket it. Yeah. Other than that, just cleaning her up and getting her stripped the rest of the way down. And I'll give an update when we start putting it back together. What's up, YouTube land? So we've already torn the Lexus engine apart. We started pulling the motor out of the car when it was dark, and then Terry's been working on it when I haven't been home, so I haven't been able to film a lot of it. But we've got the entire head, both of the heads off, the cams out, the block is stripped down, time belts off. So the only thing that I really ran into when I was tearing it apart is I forgot that it had the 2-piece camshaft on the exhaust camshaft. So I forgot to put a bolt in the left cylinder head camshaft for the exhaust side. I did it on the right head on the exhaust cam, but I forgot to do it on the driver's side or left side exhaust cam. So I'm gonna have to retwist that cam around and put a bolt in it before I can put it back together. But we're going to start really deep cleaning the engine. We've got an oil pump on the way. So I still got to remove the lower oil pan and the middle oil pan, and then remove the oil pump and remove the crankshaft sprocket for the timing. So I'll try and video all that and include that in this video. But once I get that stuff done, it's going to be basically reassembly of the engine, and I'll do a separate video for the reassembly. This one's just going to be tear down, cleaning, and then showing what we're replacing. So I'll do a little walkthrough of everything that we're replacing. I'll show you the engine as it sits now, and then I'll show you all the parts that we're going to do, and then we'll go from there. All right, guys, so a little update. I can't remember what I've shown in the video, but I haven't, so I'll edit all this. But both the heads are removed. Camshafts are in that bag, camshafts are in that bag, lifter spacers are in there. Throttle body, valve cover, upper intake, lower intake, another valve cover. So we got it all tore apart. The engine has been cleaned. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna remove the lower oil pan, and we're gonna remove the oil pump and replace it. That's what we're gonna pick up. All right, so here's to show you the difference between the cylinders. So I've cleaned that cylinder, and that cylinder. I have not cleaned that one. And then over here, I've cleaned that cylinder, and I haven't touched that one. So we'll see how it looks after I get everything cleaned up, but I'm not seeing a very established lip on the top of the cylinder wall. So I don't feel any play in the pistons at all. I mean, I'm gonna put an indicator on it and see if I can get any play, but I don't know. The walls look good. I don't see any scoring. So I think we're just gonna replace the oil pump and let her ride. All right, guys, so I just removed the lower oil pan off the engine, and I just wanna show you, this is the kind of crap that is in your oil pan when you don't change your oil like you're supposed to. That's the sludge that you see in the commercials that they're talking about. They're not bullshitting. That's sludge from not changing the oil. And then the other way that I can tell that the oil hasn't been changed regularly is everything in here that's supposed to be like shiny silver is stained a real dark brown. And that's usually an indication that either one, the engine's been run hot, two, the oil hasn't been changed at the regular intervals. This one is obvious that the oil has not been changed at the regular intervals because the heads look just like this. I'm seeing sludge inside of here, so it's change your oil, guys. There's a reason why you need to change your oil, and that's why. It is not good for your engine. And if you change your oil, this stuff will still look brand new even after freaking 150, 200,000 miles if you change your oil like you're supposed to. This is what happens when you don't do proper maintenance. Just FYI. All right, guys, so we got new oil pump installed on here. New front main seal. Reinstalled the upper oil pan, reinstalled the lower oil pan, cleaned up the upper oil pan and the lower oil pan. So now we're gonna let this stuff dry overnight. Then we're gonna flip it over. We'll start installing the water pump. We'll start cleaning the top of the piston. I've already cleaned the top of the piston, so we'll clean the surface of the block, and we'll actually bolt the heads back on here tomorrow. So, yeah, I'm hoping to have the engine probably about 60 to 70% of the way back together when I post this video. So I'll do another update tomorrow after we get a little bit more work done. All right, guys, so Terry's been working on cleaning the valves, the combustion chamber for where the valves are. So these two have been cleaned. These two he's still working on. Same with this head. This one and this one are still being worked on. These two have been cleaned. So we're just scrubbing all this stuff down. So that tomorrow we can replace all the valve stem seals. So I'm going to show you how to replace the valve stem seals when I pick back up with the video. All right, guys, so now I'm to the point where I'm going to be replacing the valve stem seals. So the valve stem seals are located below the valve spring. So here's the valve spring, and then this is the cap for the valve spring. And then these are the keepers that hold the cap in. And then the valve guide seal is located directly below the spring right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick that out, and I'll show you the valve guide seal after I get it out. All right, guys, so this is your valve stem seal, and I stabbed myself with my picks when I was pulling the thing out. But that's your valve stem seal. What I did was I just used these picks that I have and get my hook in behind it and pull, and it will pop off, because there is a little lip on the valve guide that actually locks the seal onto it. So when you go to put the new seal on there, if you look down inside this one, hopefully I can get it to focus right, you'll see that little spring that's sticking up right there. I actually broke it when I pulled it out, but that's what holds it to the top of the valve guide. So when you push the new valve seal on there, don't worry about it popping back off. It's got a spring-loaded clip that will hold it to the top of the valve guide. All right, so I'm gonna try and stay out of the way so you guys can see how this goes back together. But essentially what I've done is I've put the valve back in from the bottom side. I've replaced the valve stem seal. Slide the valve in from the bottom side. Get the valve to seat all the way. Slide the spring with the capture ring in there. And just get it resting in there. And then you absolutely, for these style of heads, have to have this kind of valve spring compressor. With the different diameters. I mean, they make several different styles of this, but it has to be this kind of style so that you can get to the keepers and so that you can get it to compress all the way down inside of the head, because your valve springs are down inside of these little counter bores. So you can't use a finger style valve spring compressor. You have to use a shaft style. So then you just hook this on here, line your pusher up with the back of the valve and center it up. Get your spring to center up with the valve. Then once you get it to line up, compress it, and then you can slide your keepers in here one at a time. And now I've had to use quite a few different tactics to get these keepers in over the years. When I did this head, the other seal last night when I was testing this out, I was able to do it without having to put grease on these keepers. So I'm going to try it again without putting grease on these keepers. But sometimes you have to put like a moly grease or just a heavy grease on here and then stick it to a screwdriver, and then you can wiggle it down in there and get it to stick into the top of the valve. But on this one, I'm just going to use my picks to try and hold it in place, and we'll see what happens.
That is a transmission, but what is it out of?
It's a 3-speed Saginaw out of a 56 Chevy Bel Air.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And then the automatic transmission over there is a 2-speed Power Glide out of that same 56 Bel Air. I have both automatic and manual for it.
Wow. I actually learned how to drive on a 56 Ford pickup truck, 3-speed on column.
Have a good afternoon.
Yes, sir. You too.
Yes, sir.
Matt, thank you very much. I will bring those back to you just as soon as I
Yeah,
get
no
done.
problem,
It
man.
will probably be tomorrow, though.
All right, that's fine.
No
issues, man.
I appreciate you very much.
Big ass sequence.
I'm probably going to be working on this shit for the rest of the day. So
Hey, I don't know if you want to slide your camera. You gotta kind of got to be seen there.
that's, I'm trying to stay out of the way
Yeah,
of
he
the
was kind of
camera,
blocking a
but
little while ago.
it's
I know you can't
kind
tell.
of, yeah, it's kind of difficult to do this and stay out of the way of the camera. So I'm just going to have to edit it the best I can.
So are you doing anything special to this? Oversized cam or
No, this is
a
a
blower or
no. We're doing
nitro?
poor man's rebuild is what we're doing right now.
So back to pretty much stock engine.
Stock engine with all new gaskets, new oil pump, new water pump, new timing belt.
Well, the poor man don't get they don't do the valve stems, do they?
Yeah, poor men don't do the valve stem, so this is a little bit more
Like
advanced than the poor man rebuild.
mid-class.
Woo.
You fairly
60,000
middle
a
department,
year.
Cloudy.
About 56,000 a year.
They'll probably
Bill.
do the same shit you're doing right now.
You leaning toward the good part a little bit.
That's that income tax bill.
You get a second job, you be there.
Oh, you saying was your reverse out?
Nah, when we came in, he hit that pothole right, or that the dip right there.
Gotta drive, dog.
I didn't even see that motherfucker, dude. I hit everything.
Bam!
I can ride your driveway blind as a son of a bitch. I can drive your whole driveway blind as hell.
And I
I get
could
down
put
to
a
here.
dump truck through that gap right there. I promise you, I could drive a dump truck through there.
I probably will, but the Eckers Paris here is not this.
Dump truck ain't either.
I ain't gonna lie, I probably ain't.
He's got to catch it sharp.
I'll stand out there and show you where it is.
Well, I see it now, shit.
Okay.
All right, I got them back in there. Now I just got to get them to separate a little bit so that there's a gap for when they heat up.
You gotta watch out.
Dude, I ain't gonna lie, it was like somebody
So-
stuck that hole out of nowhere. It's just, bam, what the fuck? Fucking me all up.
When you put these keepers in, if
Now take it
you
easy.
leave the gap too close together on them, when they heat up, it can actually cause problems. So you do need to make sure that you keep an even gap between
Yeah,
the
honestly
two.
though, it would be smoother if it got just to go that way. Then you try to go around. It's just rough trying to go around. 'Cause it's such a hill.
Pull up a little bit.
I didn't see what y'all was trying to do. I thought he was talking about trying to pull up around.
He was installed there.
I feel like that'd be rough for a car trying to get up that hill right there.
Dude, actually, Dee Dee has
It
put
ain't
this
smooth. You're
farm
gonna be
down double bridges. Down 2 double bridges. You know double bridges, right? 362. Like that big. She drove this motherfucker down there, dude. There was 5 of us in the car. We all got out of the car and watched it. And she did it somehow. I got witnesses. Oh, just next week. Happy Father's Day, Matt.
Yes, sir. Happy Father's Day. All right, there we go. I generally do that just to make sure that the keepers are seated. I sit the tip of the blade right on the keeper and just tap the end of it, and I do it to both of the keepers to make sure that they're seated fully onto the valve. Once you do that, now you can move on to the next valve. So I'm not going to record every single valve. They all work the same way. Now, as far as these seals go, this will be different on each individual application, but on our current application, the green seals are the intake and the brown seals are the exhaust. That may be different for your application, but for our current application, that's what it applies to. So we're going to replace all these valve stem seals, and I'll pick back up after when we're getting ready to bolt the heads to the engine. So here, for everyone's entertainment, Terry is trying to do this for himself for the first time, and he is having a hell of a time getting these keepers in there. So he gets to experience my struggles. So we're going to experience it together, everybody.
almost lost a keeper already. Stabbed myself. Put a valve stem in crooked for the seal.
Yeah, he put the seal in crooked too. I had to straighten it out. And he is struggling with these keepers. I make it look easy according to him.
Did the other one fall out?
What, it ain't in there?
I don't see it. Oh, it's in there.
It's in there. It's down in there. You haven't shoved it in too far. You may have to release the compressor to have it drive the retainer up.
No, it did come out some, I think.
This is fun, isn't it? It's a royal pain in the ass. Oh, I enjoy watching somebody else struggle with these damn things, because he was the one that wanted to do these, so it's fun watching him struggle. I mean, I agree with him. They needed to be done, but I just didn't want to do them.
Okay. I don't see how some gun don't go down in there. Like the other one went in so smoothly. Think that's not far enough?
I can't see from here. I'm trying to just get this on film so that everybody can enjoy
Oh
your
yeah,
struggle.
bro. It's happening.
You got them in there?
I think it's in there.
All right.
And
Well,
then like swimwear.
all right. Let's see. Don't stand in front of the motherfucker when you unscrew it.
What's your opinion?
Oh, you want me to look at it? All right.
Get you a close up for the film.
My camera sucks, but it might focus. It ain't gonna focus. I can tell you that yes, they're in there. My camera won't focus, but yeah, they're in there. Release it slowly, and they should. The bottom one is not seated all the way into the ring on the valve, but it should when you start releasing it. Yeah, it's pulling itself up in there now. Yeah, it looks seated.
Oh yeah. And it looks nice and spaced too.
Yep. Check your spacing when you get it out. No, just pull on the black handle. Yep, there you go. Alright, move the whole thing out of the way. Now check your gap is off.
No.
Here, let's shine that light so everybody can see. So those are the keepers that he was fighting with. You can see that there's not a very good gap. There's a big gap on one side and then no gap on the other side. So what we're going to do is we're going to seat those keepers in there, and then we'll drive there's a little pin that I have that I can drive in there to separate the space in there and make it even out. But you can look at how the factory one is, one that we haven't touched yet. There's still a gap there. It's not evenly spaced, but there's a gap there. This one is absolutely evenly spaced. Most of them look pretty evenly spaced, and they'll rotate a little bit, but I don't want to leave them jammed against each other because of what happens during heat. They'll expand, and don't want it. All right, guys. So I just now finished doing the one cylinder head, replacing all valve stem guide seals. So I'm not going to be able to get the entire engine, or I'm not even going to be able to get the heads bolted back onto this thing before I post this video. So I'm probably just going to wrap the video here. We have replaced all the valve stem seals on I think it was the driver's side head. I'm not sure. One of the heads. And the other head, I've done 2. I've still got to finish the other 14. So it took a lot of time. I knew it was going to take a long time. It took a lot longer than Terry thought it was going to take. I knew it was going to take a long time. So, but I was able to get all of the keepers out and back in without having to use any grease or anything like that. It was a little bit of a pain in the butt on a couple of them, but most of them drop right back in. So like I said, all the valve stem seals on that head are complete. We've got 2 on the other head already done. I'll finish doing those, and then the next video I'll pick up with installing the heads onto the block, putting the water pump on, setting the time, or putting the cams back into the heads, setting the timing on the engine, and installing all those covers, and then bolting the we're going to drop it off the engine stand, and we're going to put the flywheel on for the manual transmission, replace the rear main seal, and then we'll install the starter, upper intake or lower intake manifold, upper intake manifold, throttle body, all that kind of stuff. We'll start fitting the wiring harness to the motor. I don't know how much I'll include in the next video, but that's basically my process. I'm going to try and finish building the motor, get it to where everything we're ready to bolt it to the transmission. Now, we still do not have the adapter for the transmission yet, and we do not have the pressure plate or the clutch disc itself. We have the flywheel, we have the transmission, we have the slave cylinder with throwout bearing, but we don't have the bell housing adapter, and we don't have the clutch disc or the pressure plate. So once we get those pieces, I'll be able to actually bolt the transmission to the engine, set the entire assembly into the car, and then we'll start being able to check drive shaft length, exhaust routing, finish buttoning up the wiring, things of that nature. So before I go putting the engine back into the car, I will fit the wiring harness to the motor. I'll finish adding the additional wires that I need to add for the oil pressure sensor, the oil level sensor, the alternator excite wire. There was like 6 wires that I had to run to another harness. So I'm going to go ahead and assemble it, get all that wired up on the motor to where it's just a drop in into the engine compartment, plug it right into the ECU, and be ready to crank it up. So I have not worked on doing the ABS relocate. I'll do that after the motor is back together and regasketed. So hopefully you guys will pick up for the next video and check out what we got going on. And I'm really hoping that in the next video we'll have the motor completely reassembled and the wiring harness at least routed and mounted to the engine. So we'll see how it goes. But like always, if this video helped you out in any way, or if you enjoyed what you watched in this video, please like, comment, share, subscribe, let your friends see what I'm doing. Project's taking really good progress. Once this project starts getting further on into the stages, I should be able to begin doing the beginning stages of my Veloster rear-wheel drive swap. Really hope that you guys will check out that build when I start doing it. Right now I'm still trying to do planning and figuring out dimensions and things, and I haven't really done any videos on it because it's kind of boring. But when I get into the fabrication stuff and removing stuff and all that, I'll pick back up on it. So thanks for watching. Today is Father's Day, so happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. And yeah, have a great one. Thanks for watching.